You know that feeling? Smashed it.
Oh, yeah. Mission accomplished. Goal hit.
Exactly. But then almost immediately there's that little echo, isn't there? That whisper of, until next time.
Mm-hmm. The body kind of sighing in the background.
That tension. That's precisely what we're diving into today. It's this constant negotiation, maybe, between our ambition, our mind,
and the wisdom our body holds.
Yeah.
And it's all drawn from this really interesting work by Terence Hughes called The Pull and the Push.
Right. And what's great is it's not like a dense textbook.
No, not at all. Hughes sets it up as a direct conversation, like actually voices these two parts of us.
You've got, that's the mind, right? The driven part, the goal setter.
Focused on performance, pushing limits.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's it.
It being the body.
The body, exactly. All the sensations, the need for rest, recovery, that kind of deeper intelligence that's looking out for our overall well-being, you know?
And reading the source, it feels like you're actually listening in on this internal argument, this tug of war.
It really does. These short, sharp exchanges just capture it perfectly. It's like the fundamental push and pull of being human, aiming high, but living in a physical reality.
So for you listening, this is, well, it's a way to get a handle on that internal dialogue pretty quickly, actually.
And maybe understand what your body's trying to tell you. Those signals. So sometimes they're quiet at first, right?
Mm-hmm. Until they're not quiet anymore.
Exactly. So this is about catching them earlier, maybe leading to a healthier way to chase whatever it is you're chasing.
So that's our mission for this deep dive. Unpack these conversations between I and it.
Look at the risks of ignoring one or the other.
Yeah. The pitfalls of just pure ambition, or conversely, maybe getting stuck and not pushing at all, though the focus here is more on the former.
Right. And ultimately exploring how really listening to both sides, how that could lead to better performance, yes. But maybe more importantly, just lasting health, sustainable success.
Okay, so let's jump in. Those opening lines you mentioned.
Yeah, I smashed it. Until next time. It just perfectly sets the stage.
The mind's focused on the win, the now.
And the body's already thinking about the cost, the recovery needed, the consequences.
Then it just brushes it off, doesn't it? Typical, you always have an ache.
Classic dismissal. Like pain is just noise, ignore it, push through.
But it comes back with something really interesting. I have a sensitive dependency on initial conditions.
Which sounds a bit technical, but it's basically saying, hey, everything adds up.
Right. The little things, the daily grind, it all accumulates, it matters.
And then I connects consistency, doing the same thing, directly to success. That's called consistency. That's what works.
Makes sense from the mind's perspective. Efficiency, routine.
But it immediately flags a danger. That's called repetitive strain waiting to happen.
Oof. Yeah, that hits home. The mind wants routine, but the body maybe needs variation.
Needs adaptation, yeah. And that line, your routine is tired and testing, the body's literally saying this isn't working anymore.
But I is stuck. It works, it insists, blind to the signals.
Until, boom, it warns. Until suddenly it doesn't. And that suddenly, that's what predictable patterns create.
So the injury isn't random bad luck.
Often not, no.
Yeah.
It's the predictable result of ignoring those consistent low-level warnings.
So I panics a bit, right? Thinks, okay, just randomize everything.
It goes to the other extreme, but it pulls it back. It says, listen to what changes, feel what shifts, adapt to what is, not what was.
It's about being present, responsive, not just following a script.
Exactly. And that highlights the importance of feeling. Sensing what's going on inside.
Which I isn't great at. I like external stuff, numbers, plans.
While it is all about that internal feedback, that slight tightness, that shift in energy. That's it, talking.
There's that really powerful line later. I don't mind you smashing it, but don't smash me in the process.
Yeah, the body's saying, look, I'm tough, I can perform, I can handle stress.
But there's a limit. It's setting a boundary.
Which leads right into that performance paradox. I says, you got to push if you want to improve. Standard thinking.
Makes sense. Effort leads to progress.
But it adds the crucial other half.
Yeah.
You got to recover from pushing if you want to keep improving.
Ah, so growth isn't just the push.
It's the push and the recovery.
Right.
They're inseparable for sustainable improvement.
Which tees up the next bit, the morning after.
Right. I is all like, okay, round 2, let's go.
Eager beaver.
Totally. Well, it's still going, whoa, hold on. I'm still processing round 1.
That disconnect feels very familiar. Mind ready, body, not so much.
And look how they frame it. I calls the need for recovery weakness.
Ouch.
But calls it wisdom. It's about priorities, isn't it? Immediate results versus long-term health.
Then I throws out the classic, champions push through.
And it has the perfect comeback.
Yeah.
Champions last long, shifting the focus.
From intensity to longevity, that's a big shift.
And that exchange. You're holding me back, I'm holding you together.
Same thing.
Opposite thing. Boom. Just nails their fundamental conflict.
This difficulty understanding each other leads to the language barrier.
Yeah, I gets frustrated. Why don't you speak clearly? Like, give me the data points.
But it explains, I speak in sensation, not sentences. And that is so, so key.
It really is. Our bodies talk through feelings, aches, energy levels, stuff. Our analytical mind often wants to just ignore or explain away.
I want specifics, hard data.
It offers sensitivity, the need to tune in. I want data. It offers feelings.
Which brings us to that great line, feelings aren't facts, facts aren't wisdom.
Exactly. Wisdom isn't just one or the other. It comes from the dialogue between the facts and the feelings, between I and it.
And if you don't speak the language, you fall right into the metrics trap.
Oh, definitely. I is so proud. My performance is measurable. Look at the numbers.
Tangible proof.
But it counters with something harder to measure but just as vital. My well-being is valuable.
The mind loves numbers. Numbers don't lie, says I.
But it wisely points out, numbers don't tell the whole truth.
Yeah, you hit that 3% performance game.
But as it says, I degraded my resilience by 30%. There's always a hidden cost if you only look at one metric,
And I just dismisses it. That's not how math works.
which shows a complete lack of understanding of physiology.
And it just replies simply, that's exactly how bodies work. You can't just add and subtract like it's a spreadsheet.
No, it's a complex system. Then there's the whole view on pain.
Ah, yes. Pain is richness leaving the body, declares I, the old mantra.
So ingrained. But it flips it completely. Pain is wisdom entering the mind.
Wow. So pain isn't the enemy to be crushed?
It's a messenger, a signal carrying valuable information that needs attention, not suppression.
The end of that section feels almost ominous. I says, too late to stop now. Just caught in the momentum.
But it offers that crucial lifeline. Never too late to listen. You can always adjust, always respond if you choose to tune in.
But if you don't,
Then you get the crash.
inevitable, really.
Can't move.
Yeah.
Just stark reality hits.
And it simply says, now you hear me. It took a complete breakdown for the message to finally get through. Why didn't you warn me? Asks I. That feels so human, that denial.
And the answer's chilling. I screamed in whispers.
Wow. The signals were there all along, just quiet.
We have to learn to amplify those whispers in our own awareness before they become screams.
There's a quick bit about volume where I seems to be thinking about like training volume.
Yeah, pushing harder again. But it brings it back to basics. This is physics.
Yeah.
There are laws, limits. You break them, there are consequences. Simple as that.
And the doctor's verdict, 6 weeks minimum, feels like forever to I.
Of course, all that progress lost.
But it has a different perspective. That's nothing. Puts it in the context of a lifetime.
It's just that this enforced stop, this setback, might actually be an opportunity.
An opportunity. How?
Well, it says you'll find everything, maybe not just fitness, but understanding, a new relationship with your body.
Your fitness will disappear, worries I.
Your wisdom might appear, counters it. Framing the crash, not just as failure.
But as education. A harsh lesson, maybe, but a lesson nonetheless.
Exactly. A chance to learn how things really work.
Okay, so then begins the slow return, recovery.
And right away, I have to jump back in.
Yeah.
Can we start now? Impatient.
Naturally, but it asks the crucial question first. Can you feel me now?
It's about reconnecting first. Reestablishing that communication channel before resuming activity. Listening.
I admits, almost grudgingly, every damn sensation.
And it labels that awareness, that sensitivity as progress. That's the first step back. Not lifting the weight, but feeling the body.
And then I has this realization that what felt like weakness before
Is actually awareness. That's a huge shift.
Which leads I to finally ask, how do we do this differently?
And it acknowledges that's the right question, finally.
Learning the body's language isn't about, like, studying a manual, is it?
No, it says it's about forgetting what you think you know and just listening.
But there's a difference between just hearing and actually listening.
A crucial difference. Hearing is waiting for your turn to talk, explains it.
Like planning your response while the other person is still speaking.
Right. Whereas listening is changing your mind. It implies being open to being influenced, to adapting based on what you perceive from your body.
That openness leads to the rhythm method, finding a sustainable pace,
It points to our rhythm, like our heartbeat as the conductor.
guiding us towards sustainable performance, not just quick bursts.
I want fast results, naturally. But it talks about something more eternal. Longevity again. Patience.
There's a subtle shift noted from point taken, the intellectual understanding.
To point felt, that deeper embodied knowing. Visceral.
And I asks, almost surprised, we're actually working together.
And it basically says, yeah, we always could have, you just had to stop fighting me.
I thought fighting was strength, admits I. A common belief.
But it clarifies. Fighting yourself is exhaustion. True strength comes from harmony, not internal conflict.
I love the shift in metaphor there from fighting.
To dancing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it captures that sense of flow, responsiveness, partnership.
So this new collaboration changes the approach to the performance paradox.
Hmm.
I feel stronger.
But also knows when to rest. That crucial wisdom is now integrated. The old rigid rules are gone.
It feels counterintuitive, though. This shouldn't work, thinks I, still clinging to the old more is more idea.
But it just dismisses that as old rules, old failures. This new way is built on just conversation, that dialogue between the push and the pull.
Yeah, then we see a young athlete asking those fundamental questions. How do I get better? Listen to what? How will I know?
And the answer isn't a formula. It's not external.
It's about turning inward. Stop asking externally.
And start feeling internally.
Mhm.
Trusting your own sensations over some generic plan. Moving from thinking to sensing.
Which leads to the mastery section, a sense of integration.
Yeah, like coming home. The separation between I and it fades.
What was the core problem all along? It says thinking was the problem. Knowing is now. Overthinking versus embodied knowing.
That powerful line, the body keeps the score.
So true. Everything leaves a trace. Our history is written in our tissues, whether we acknowledge it or not.
And how do we help others, like athletes? Get this. It observed the sad reality. Often it's through their shared injury.
That's tragic. That's typical.
But there is another way. This conversation.
The one we're having now, or...
The internal one, between mind and body, between human and being. That's the path.
This requires a fundamental shift in perception, doesn't it? The Gestalt shift.
Exactly. I finally realize this. I've been seeing it all wrong. A total perspective flip.
And when I says, you're not a machine, it is silent.
That silence speaks volumes, doesn't it? Letting that sink in.
Yeah.
Because that machine metaphor is so deeply rooted.
I confesses, all this time trying to fix you, optimize you, upgrade you, like software, like hardware.
Treating the body like an object to be controlled.
And then the breakthrough, you're more like weather.
Ah, that's such a better metaphor. Weather isn't something you fix or control.
Right, you respond to it, you adapt, you feel it.
You work with it. It's a dynamic system, an ecosystem, as it says, not a predictable mechanism.
I've been using the wrong manual, I admit. All those aches.
They weren't malfunctions, they were communications.
And trying to push through pain was like shouting at rain to stop. Utterly futile.
So this new relationship starts with basic questions. If you're not a machine, then what are you? What are we?
And the answer isn't a neat definition.
No, it says beautiful, not knowing is the beginning. Understanding comes through experience, through relating, not just analyzing.
So this changes everything, but also nothing.
Exactly. The body was always this way. It was our perception, our I, that needed the shift. That separation, it suggests, was the illness.
And the goal now isn't fixing, it's...
Healing, a process of integration, not repair.
This healing needs a different view of the ultimate truth, too. I thought truth was fixed, absolute.
But it reveals truth adapts, like we do. What's right changes. Context matters. Individuality matters.
That adaptability can feel scary to the mind, right? Terrifying, says I. It wants rules.
But it reframes it as liberating, training, life. It's not about following a rigid script anymore.
It's about dancing with weather.
Paying attention, adapting, responding, participating, not controlling.
And this wisdom isn't new agey, is it?
No, it calls it ancient. It's how we understood ourselves before we got obsessed with mechanical models. Progress is about finding your way, moment by moment.
But the mind still wants structure.
And it suggests you need relationship. Structure emerges from that. Trust the dialogue.
Trust the process, even if it feels uncertain. You've always known, says it. You just didn't trust it.
And we see this in action in the return to movement.
Right. I finally asked the body what it needs. Leads instead of dictates.
And the movement becomes intuitive, exploratory. The session designed itself through that partnership.
The feeling isn't about hitting numbers, it's about feeling alive.
Yes, and it seems simple, but unlearning the habit of overcomplicating, of overriding our senses, takes real effort.
It also cautions against saying never about limitations. The body is fluid.
And recovery isn't a destination, it's happening now, in the present awareness.
So when the young athlete asks again, how do I train? The answer is different.
It becomes, how do you relate to your body?
Yeah.
Are you treating it like a tool or a partner, a machine or weather?
That shift is everything, like the mother mentioned, stuck in the machine mindset.
Yeah, that represents the old way. But the new understanding, the real getting it, happens when you, the listener, are ready to stop controlling and start dancing.
Which brings us to the epilogue. The cycle repeats, in a way. A new I appears, all gung-ho. Let's crush this workout.
Full of enthusiasm. But the new it is there too, whispering knowingly, here we go again.
But now there are also the echoes of the old I and old it.
The voices of experience of wisdom learn the hard way, urging listening.
And that initial silence, the inability to hear anything, that's the start.
That's the first step, just trying to tune in, practicing awareness.
So the promise here isn't perfection or zero pain.
No, it's a different kind of relationship. Deeper awareness, sustainable practice, finding harmony between that push and pull.
That fundamental shift we talked about from machine to ecosystem.
Yes. Seeing injuries not just as random breakdowns, but sometimes as the ecosystem's way of forcing a change when the mind won't listen to the whispers.
Because we're not broken machines needing fixes.
We're incredibly complex, wise systems needing understanding, respect, and listening. It takes humility, patience, and trust.
So let's try and synthesize this. The core takeaway is really about nurturing that ongoing conversation, isn't it? Between your ambitious I and your wise it.
Absolutely. Progress, real well-being, it comes from integrating both voices, not letting one dominate the other.
And we saw those key examples of danger of the metrics trap, where you chase numbers but sacrifice resilience.
Or understanding that the body speaks in sensation, not sentences, requiring a different kind of listening.
And that huge shift from seeing the body as a machine you control to, well, an ecosystem you partner with, like the weather.
So for you listening, maybe take a second to reflect. How does your I sound, that ambitious voice? And how often, honestly, do you tune in to your it?
Are you maybe pushing hard but forgetting the recovery side? Or are you dismissing those little aches and pains as weakness rather than information?
Valuable information, yeah.
And here's that final thought to chew on. What if those times you feel like you failed hit a setback? What if that's not a punishment?
What if it's actually your it, your body's wisdom, trying desperately to communicate, trying to guide your I onto a path that's actually sustainable, maybe even more rewarding in the long run?
What could happen if you really, truly started listening to that conversation inside?